Hi, so I'm here with Christine, my wife's friend, and we're doing a very impromptu interview. Actually, this is the very first interview we've ever done for Second Earth. But, she came over and she started talking about a story that sounded eerily familiar, something that we've actually discussed on this channel before. So, just to start off the interview, could you tell us what it was that you saw the other day?
I saw a triangular formation of dull reddish orangish lights in the sky directly above my head when I looked up at the sky, and it was pretty high up in the sky.
And how long ago did this happen?
It happened about 2 months ago, or a little less than 2 months ago.
And you said it was a formation of lights. Was it a formation of lights, or was it a craft, or was it something? Could you discern what it was exactly?
So at first I thought it was a craft, and that you probably couldn't see the rest of the craft, just the lights. But then when a few of the lights on the sides had moved forward uh, at the same time, and then moved back into the triangular formation. So
So were they sorry? Were they staying in a triangular formation, or were they moving? Like, were they moving within a triangular formation, or were they? How were they moving exactly?
so the main formation was moving, and while it was moving, the lights on the side were sort of coming up front and then moving towards the back. So at that point, I realized that maybe they are separate structures and not maybe one structure, or maybe there's some auxiliary structures that are next to the main structure. I'm not sure, but it seems like they were moving parts.
Okay. Was it just three lights, or how? What is it? Actually, maybe I should just ask you, because I haven't heard this description yet. So I should just ask you exactly how you saw it. Because you said that you saw these two lights. Was it three lights? Was there a center light at all, or was there anything else that you saw with it?
Right, they were all the same. One was up front, and then there were on the side four lights on the side, on each side.
Oh wow! So it was like creating. It was like creating a triangle with lights, a whole bunch of lights.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh wow! Do you think there's any chance it could have been some kind of airplane that you never heard of, or some kind of drone, perhaps?
It was pretty high up.
Uh-huh.
Kind of. I've never seen any thing in the sky that high up, and also it wasn't making any sound. I mean, usually the planes that I encounter in my neighborhood, like if I see they're in the sky, they're still making a sound. This made absolutely zero sound. No, what do you call them? Contrails, like any trails,
Right.
like
So you heard no sound
no
whatsoever.
sound whatsoever. At the moment, something on some kind of subconscious level told me to look up at the very second that I was.
Wait. Something told you to look up,
Yeah, something.
like a thought, or like a.
Thought, yeah.
Wow.
And the strange part of that is that once I had that thought and I looked up, it wasn't that this these objects were like in front of me or behind me. They were directly on top of me at that very moment that I was somehow got a thought or
Wow.
of
Yeah.
some sort. I don't know.
Do you remember how long the sighting lasted?
Lasted for a while, actually.
Really?
Because it wasn't moving so fast like a plane. And it was a little bit slower enough where and by the way, I wasn't alone. I was,
You were not alone.
I was not alone.
How many witnesses were there?
Well, I mean, it was night, and I was with my mom smoking outside, and we were going back in, and I happened to look up, and she was with me, and I grabbed her arm, and we were both witnessing it at the same time in shock. And
Can I ask real quick? What did your mom think when she saw it?
oh, my mom knew exactly what she was seeing.
Oh,
I mean,
wait, has she seen this before? Or?
she saw some, not this kind of formation, but she saw it on our block.
Oh, wow, okay.
In broad daylight, but she was alone at the time. I didn't see it, but
okay.
Yeah, so she kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's.
So I wanted to ask you. Here. So we got a quick interruption with Chloe here. That's Chloe. So Chloe, did you see a UFO? Okay, I guess she's gone.
She is an alien.
Right. So you said it was kind of moving slowly, slower than a plane. Could you recall any sense of speed or how fast it might have been going?
It wasn't going super fast where you couldn't even tell what you were looking at. It wasn't going super slow either. But I would say from the time in my field of sight of the sky, I was basically looking at it for a good 20 to 30 seconds.
Oh wow!
So we got a good look at it.
Okay, so you said it was. You had a sense that it was far away. Did you have any visual cues to be able to judge the distance? And then,
Yeah.
and if you could, what would be your estimate for the size of this craft? If you had one, if you could give one.
Right. It I would say it's pretty huge. Whether it's one solid piece or many smaller pieces, its range was pretty huge. As far as distance, I don't really have a reference, but in terms, yeah, it's a good question because I've never seen anything like that before. So,
but you just had a sense that it was pretty far away.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's because it didn't have a sound either. Generally, things that are closer make a sound. Things that are further away, don't as much. So maybe that's what made me think it was far, but it looks far.
And could you, had you seen UFO, or what you would term UFO, like something that's unexplainable before? Or was this one of your first times witnessing, or did you see anything even remotely close to a triangular craft like what you just saw today?
Not a triangular craft, but I did have my first sighting. This was my second one. In Vegas, of all places, which is, there's a lot of activity there, but it was like right behind the strip. I was staying in a little motel with a little window in my motel, and my boyfriend was on the phone, and he's like, there's something weird out there. He was looking out the window incidentally, and I look out, and there's like these 5 super shiny, they look like mercury, circular. Yeah, it's strange that I've always seeing more than one. Usually people see just one thing, but I get a sense,
like a formation you're talking about.
Yeah, or like a craft, or like a flying saucer or something. For some reason, I'm seeing these like they're together. They're like a
I'm assuming here. I actually never technically asked you this. I don't even know. But do you believe in extraterrestrials? Like, do you believe that what you saw was something like perhaps military, or do you think it was something more unexplainable?
I mean, the military part is very feasible, but the technology has to come from somewhere, and deep in my mind, I don't want to think what's flying that thing. I don't want to believe that it's something outside of human. I don't know. I can't. It's beyond my what I know
Okay.
and what I've seen and what I can imagine it, but it's almost like it's in the brink of your like psyche. It's so out there that I can't even process thinking what it is or who's there.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that particular question because I was really interested about you saying that you had some kind of feeling when right before you saw this, because it's not very normal that somebody in the middle of the night just goes, "Oh, I'm looking at the sky."
Absolutely. And the first time it happened in Vegas, let's say there were like 5 UFOs. I think there were 5 crafts, little ones. Actually, again, I don't know how big they were. But there was one that, so the rest of them disappeared. And there was one that stopped right next to me. I would say maybe like 10 meters away.
10 meters, wow.
Yeah, very, very close. And it was disappearing in midair. This was very strange.
Wow.
Again, it's very hard to process because we don't see these things. We can't.
Right.
There's no objects that become translucent in midair. It just doesn't happen in reality. So it's hard to even explain something like that, right? So at that moment, I felt like it was communicating with me. It was I don't know how to explain that. It was communicating. It was telling me things about my life that I needed to do. And
is there anything that you would want to share? I know some of this stuff can be very personal, so I don't want to intrude too much. But just if there's
yeah, no, it's fine. I had this crazy boyfriend. We experienced a lot of weird phenomenon together, and I feel like he wasn't a good person. And I feel like he was, even though we were connected to some weird stuff beyond ourselves, I don't think it was necessarily a good situation. And I felt like, in a weird way, it was telling me, don't mess with this energy.
Wow. Did you feel like you had any kind of feeling, even remotely close to the one that you felt in Vegas, that you saw? Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 months ago.
Or 2 months ago, excuse me.
Maybe less. I'd have to think about it more when I saw it. But did I feel a connection to it?
Yeah, just anything that was reminiscent of what you explained from the Vegas trip.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a reminder. It's telling the people who are ready to receive it that there's something higher than us. And whether they made us, whether we are them, whatever it is, that they're reminding us.
Is this is the message that they're giving you, you're saying, or is this your thoughts about the message?
Yeah, it's my thoughts. Like, as in why it's happening? Is it?
I guess what I'm wondering is, you had this one experience in Vegas where you had kind of a very personal connection with this thing, and then you explained to me that just 2 months ago you something as if was like, hey, I'm up here.
Right.
So I was wondering if that, hey, I'm up here, if that feeling was similar to the one that you had in Vegas, or were there, if there was any differences, or if it was even the same thing.
Definitely, I think there's a reason for sure. Yeah, it's very reminiscent. I think they're connected. I think all of it is connected. Absolutely, and I think there's a reason why it's happening, and I'm okay with that. Honestly, I'm very at peace with whatever they want to show me. So
That's I have to say that your story is very. I know that the audience is really going to appreciate it, because a lot of what you said, even though this is the first time that we've talked about this, you've actually related a lot of interesting things that a lot of other people in this channel have actually discussed. Things that are kind of consistent. And is there any last thing that you want to, maybe something that I didn't mention, something that you remembered that was very memorable about the experience that you wanted to share to the audience?
Yes, actually, I do remember tracking this formation, and wondering where it's going and what is it doing and what is it why is it here. And I remember it the moon was rising on the other side, and I clearly see it going towards the moon, like as if
Like it's as if it's
As
going
if
into the moon.
yeah, as if that's its trajectory, like that's its destination.
Okay.
I mean, these are huge distances, but
Yeah.
it definitely looked like that's where it was going.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing. Where would it go? Like, why?
Right.
But
Because it was just like, was it over the moon kind of as it was going there, or is just the trajectory is perfectly going there?
well, the moon was kind of far off at the time, but it was like clearly just approaching that angle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it was flying at an angle. At first, it looked like it was just over me, but I realized at some point that it's like actually flying at an angle.
Wow.
So, which, I mean, I don't know if they're going home or what they're doing, but that was very interesting. That was a very interesting part of that experience.
And just one last question. When you did have a feeling or any feeling whatsoever or any connection with the craft, what were those feelings? Was it a feeling of connection? Did you feel scared, or did you feel, or what was it that you felt when you encountered them?
I wouldn't say it's fear. I would say it's more complete agreement with who they are, whatever they are, what they're doing. It's just again being at peace with what they're doing. I don't
What do you think they're doing?
think that they're just hanging out, and maybe they created this. Maybe they're guardians, stewards. I don't know what they're doing, but I do know with full confidence that they are connected to us. Um, Otherwise, I wouldn't have these experiences in the first place. You know.
And then and your mother, does she feel similarly to you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, she grew up in the Soviet Union, and this stuff was hush hush, but everybody knew.
Ah,
Everybody knew what was going on.
yeah.
So,
Even though even though it's a communist country, certain things like UFOs seems like people within themselves are more accepting. Would you say than U.S.?
more accepting. I don't know. It's hard to tell because I never lived there, but I I would say that there was a lot of military and people in the Air Force, and you hear lots of stories. Even 50 years past. People that I've met. It's a pretty common thing. Even the ex-president Medvedev, he admitted on camera. I don't know if he was joking.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Maybe he was being facetious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. But
it didn't sound too joking. Yeah,
I don't know. But
I remember that.
yeah, so it's like a testament to how everybody's just. It's like commonplace.
Yeah.
It's not like a matter of does it exist or doesn't. It's sure it's like part of life.
And it's so. I had one last question. A lot of people who apparently see these triangular crafts, sometimes they see a middle light. So I don't want to probe you in the questions. I just want to ask you very straight up. Did you see anything in the middle or any middle light at all?
No, it was a pure like single line formation, and just the lights were moving like inwards and outwards, and simultaneously. The thing that got me actually, the thing that got me was how precisely they were moving. I mean, there was no deviation from the precision of their movements. Like, it was just perfect. You know, and that's what got me, actually. They moved maybe like 2 times.
Right.
But that's what got me.
And in Los Angeles, do you remember what time it was?
Oh, it must have been like last smoke of the night, 11 o'clock.
That's what, 11 o'clock?
Around that, yeah.
And then, and was there anything else? Were the lights like something you've seen before, or was it something like you've never seen before?
No, it's nothing. I've never seen anything like that.
Only because you describe it kind of like as a dull light. I was just wondering if the quality of the light was something that you've seen before.
Oh, it was a very strange light. Yeah, I'd never seen a quality of something like that. It was almost like I can't. It was yeah. There was no. It was just a solid, dull light with yeah. There were no real edges. It was just like you couldn't really make out any object. It was just pure lights. That's it. Like I couldn't see any edges or angles or nothing. Yeah.
So I know I've already asked this, but before I close off the interview, any last things that you want to share to the audience?
I want to say, I love the X-Files. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a pretty spiritual person, and I'm very connected to nature, and I feel like this is an extension of nature. Like,
Wow.
yeah, that's what I feel that.
Okay. Well, and hey, Christine, thank you so much for sharing your experience with everybody.
You're very welcome. Be safe out there.
So yeah, well, thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys next time. This is Felipe Osorio and Christine, and signing out.